I did my best to notice when the call came down the line, up to the platform of surrender. I was bought, but I was kind. And sometimes I get nervous when I see an open door. Close your eyes, clear your heart. You gotta cut the cord. Are we human? Or are we dancer? The sign is vital. My hands are cold, and I'm on my knees looking for the answer. Are we human? Are we dancers? Pay my respects to grace and virtue. Send my condolences to good. Give my regards to soul and romance. They always did the best they could. And so long to devotion. You taught me everything I know. Wave goodbye, wish me well. You gotta let me go. Are we human? Or are we dancer? The sign is vital. My hands are cold, and I'm on my knees looking for the answer. Are we human? Are we dancers? Will your system be alright when you dream of home tonight? There's no message we're receiving. Let me know your heart's still beating. Are we human? Or are we dancing? My sign is vital. My hands are cold, and I'm on my knees looking for the answer. Are we human? Or are we dancers? Are we human? Or are we dancers? The sign is vital. My hands are cold, and I'm on my knees and looking for the answer. Are we human? Or are we dancers?
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Brandon, I'll use this microphone. Thank you. We had to decide. It was either this one or this one that's hiding behind my back. Good evening to you all as well. Thank you. Stop it. Well, thank you. Thank you. 2020, trick question. 2021, isn't it? That's not a decade, it's a year. I know, it did, like a stealth turtle. I saw it coming the whole time, and I couldn't avoid it. Hey, Wilson crew. Welcome. Look at all this crosstalk, I love it. Welcome to Collective. I am genuinely so glad, even you, Dave, so glad you all are here. I will be your host for the service here in beautiful, if not rainy, downtown DeLand, and globally anywhere in the world at wearecollectivechurch.com, where you can subscribe and stay connected. Some of you, this is your, Dave probably is the longest one. This is conservatively like maybe Dave's 600th service. And some of you, this is not only your first time with us, but maybe it's your first time in like a religious setting in a long time. So thank you first for trusting us. Your perspective makes us fresh, and it keeps us alive. As you just heard, last night was my last night in my 30s. I'm glad to report that I transitioned gracefully. and entirely into a season of wisdom and maturity. Yes, thank you. I have been struggling with how to celebrate, to know how to celebrate, to know what to celebrate. And so maybe you guys can relate, just to like get myself to feel it. Because the truth is, I don't feel it this year. And I know I should. Thank you. That word is disempowering and unhelpful. And I'm not able to will myself. And that's lots of reasons, right? Everybody, at your birthday, you take stock, you reflect. So just lots of questions. And also, you guys may have heard of these too, feelings. Man, birthday rolls around, feelings, they're there also. All of that to say, I want you guys to know, because we say we don't make assumptions. I assume this, and I want to remind you that part of the reason I'm here is because I trust you guys. And so even in that, even not knowing what to do with being in my 40s, I'm grateful to be here with you all, because part of what I was reflecting on this afternoon is, in the most literal sense, I don't know who I would be without you guys. Like I've grown up into who I am as an adult, and I say that loosely, right? I said adult, not mature. I've grown up through this. So who it's made me, the gifts it's given me. And as one of my favorite singer-songwriters, Trevor Hall, puts it, part of what you guys remind me of is the gift of knowing that time is not running out. But when we're together, it feels like time is running in, like we're filling it with value. So cheers to the next 40 together and sharing my birthday with me. I wanted to just play a song for fun, so that's what Freddie and I are going to do now. Give it to him, Fred.
Sit there in your heartache, waiting on some beautiful boy to save you from your old ways. You play forgiveness, watching how you come. He doesn't look a thing like Jesus, but he talks like a gentleman, like you imagine when you were young. Can we climb this mountain? I don't know. Higher now than ever before. I know we can make it if we take it slow. Let's take it easy, easy now. Watch it go. We're burning down the highway. Skyline on the back of a hurricane that started coming when we were young. Sometimes you close your eyes and see the place where you used to live when you were young. Say the devil's water, it ain't so sweet. You don't have to drink right now, but you can dip your feet every once in a little while. Hey. You sit there in your heartache, waiting on some beautiful boy to save you from your old ways. You play forgiveness, watching now it come. He doesn't look a thing like Jesus, but he talks like a gentleman, like you imagine when we're young. When you were young. No, he doesn't look a thing like Jesus. No, he doesn't look a thing like Jesus. But more than you'll ever know,
So, thank you all for singing along. I appreciate it, in my mind anyway. We're going to begin by simply bearing witness to the courage it takes to gather. And I do this with myself. How many of you guys, like, if you want to be excited about something, but there's a chance that it's not going to go well, like you prep yourself, you're like, it's not going to go well. Nobody's going to come. I do that all the time, every week, every Sunday. I'm like sitting here running through music, and I'm like, it's raining. They don't want to be here. They don't, you know, what I mean, but it's part of whatever. So I was doing that thing again tonight, and you guys are here, and like you're here. Like you guys, if you can't see online, the room is nice and full. In the right sense. I hope you know what I mean. It's nice and full. So let's bear witness to the courage it takes just to show up, to get together in the room for a purpose like this. There are not, and this is going to blow your mind, there are not many people doing this in the world. This is unique and it's good. And I want to honor the courage with belonging by saying that you belong here. I was hanging with my best bud, Clark, last night, and I said this, and he goes, man, that's so good, you should write that down. And we were trying to like summarize, the last 20 years of my life. And the line was, I'm surrounded by all these people like me, and none of us could cut it as misfits. Which I just think is such a great, I couldn't cut it as a misfit. But that we all have that in common is kind of fun. So whether this is like a long, long time, like you've been here so long you're bored, or whether this is your first time, these are our opening sort of convictions that you belong here and everybody around you belongs here, that you're valuable and the people around you have value to contribute, and that during this time we're all equal. There's no power in this room. We're here to give gifts and to receive them. In person and online, live now or later on, whenever, wherever, your presence makes us who we are. You too, Patty and Larry, over there. Speaking of which, welcome, by the way. Speaking of which, the liturgy means the work of the people, so this is not religious entertainment, but spiritual formation. While we work together tonight to help us work, Kenny is helping to host in the room and online. Larry and Patty Cuthill, recently married. Larry and Patty Cuthill, thank you, all right. Yeah, that's what we do in the church, right? We celebrate unions and commitments and all sorts of cool stuff like that. We're really glad that you guys are with us. Welcome. We have our artist in residence, Fred Wilson. Yeah. We'll get to this in a second. We're going to talk about a survey that went out to you guys, but we don't have baristas again this week. We don't have coffee, but we're working on that. We're building a barista infrastructure that will be delivering delicious Java to your gullet any week now. Feel free to join in that campaign if you want to help bring coffee back. Let's play some more music, shall we? This is one you got to sing along with. Even if you don't know the words, just do the ooze. Thank you, Heather. That wasn't even a birthday courtesy laugh. I got that one free in the wild.
Travel different paths, beautiful people with messy paths, so have no fear, no judgment here. Whether you believe in Jesus, or don't believe in anything, something you can teach us. You belong, no right, no wrong. Finding God in peace. hearts as equals, for you are held in light. Good news is on your side. Oh, life's full of mystery. Solidarity helps us to find some peace in the great unknown. You don't have to be alone. Lean into grace. Help us make a place with an open table. No one's turned away. We'll love without why. No one has to hide. Finding God in people, sharing hearts as equals, where you are held in light. Good news is on your side. Oh,
Patty, would you read the community statement for us since we've sung it?
We are highly, oops, it's a little bit small for me. Can it be
Do we have a
enlarged?
computer over there, Kenny? Can you pass her the liturgy?
Yeah,
Let's do that.
actually, I'll put it.
We have the technology, folks.
Yes.
Stand by.
We can make it work.
Hey, Patty, thank you for asking instead of faking it.
Oh,
It's
no.
something that we really appreciate around here. If you need help, ask for it. Thanks for being clear. Oh, look at that.
All right, here we go. Community statement. We value highly the metaphor of journey. We're different people from different places and backgrounds, representing an intergenerational community, and we've traveled different paths. So we agree not to make assumptions about the person across from us, next to us, or in conversation with us. We challenge ourselves to be sensitive, knowing this community includes a diverse group of people, from lifelong followers of Jesus to people who are just now open to the idea that God might exist. We strive to avoid offense, ask good questions, articulate and explain our responses. We don't assume fluency in Bible, spirituality, or church language, because we believe the message of Jesus is not for Christianity, but for humanity. So we do everything in the spirit of love and grace.
Awesome. Thank you, Patty, so much for reading that. Thanks, Kenny, for making that happen at the last minute. We are Collective Church. We've said it, we've sung it. Those of us in the room, and Kenny, is anybody with us online tonight?
Yes.
Awesome.
We've got Marilyn watching.
Ellen, thank you so much for being with us. I did get your message today. Thank you. Appreciate the birthday wish.
Jay
Hey, Jay, how's it going?
and John.
Fantastic. Good
Yeah.
to see you guys. Is that Schulteis?
Scott.
John Scott. Hey, John, how's it going?
Yeah, he's doing some lesson videos for struggling students while Annabelle and Margot are doing Girl Scout things.
Real life collective right there. Life happening
Yeah.
while it's happening. Fantastic. So across from us, next to us, and in conversation with us, we said last week, we talk about not making assumptions, but we do assume conversation. It's hard to build a movement if you don't know who's in it. So we're going to talk to one another. If you're willing to share with somebody next to you, quick answers. We're going to put 2 minutes on the clock. Kenny's online. For those of you guys that are online with us, feel free to chat with him. And the questions we're going to ask are, where is the joy this week? Where was the joy this week? And where was the quicksand? And these may be like the same questions every week, but sometimes the words you use get to the thing. So some of you guys, maybe you needed the word quicksand to unlock the thing that you're really struggling with. Feel free, that's a gift. Where was the joy this week? And where was the quicksand? And we said we want to start with this connection, that when we're together being our true selves, it's okay to put heavy stuff down. You can say it. And it's okay to lift important things up. You can share it. So that's what we're going to do. Where was the joy this week, and where was the quicksand? You've got 2 minutes on the clock. I'll be watching that, so probably like 2:15 or 2:30. But 2 minutes on the clock. Usual house rules apply. No me monsters. Take 15 to 20 seconds, depending on how many people are around you. If you're not in a position where you can socialize and share right now, feel free to use these questions for self-reflection. Just let people know I'm not open to collaborate. That's fine. Do your own self-reflection. But if we're going to build a movement, we've got to know each other. So let's take 2 minutes and chat about the joys in the quicksand. Go. All right, bring it on back. All right, how many of you, by show of blinking your eyes, how many of you? I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 3. Okay, how many of you all, well, first of all, let's segment this way. For those of you who are like pretty clear, you've got an image in your mind of the quicksand. And maybe you've realized, like just in the last few minutes thinking about it, that you know you're in quicksand, and you know that struggling makes it worse. And you've inherited this damn Western capitalistic drive. And maybe you just need permission to stop making it worse. Maybe you just need permission to stop struggling and making it worse. And that's okay. It's not a failure. It's not that you're not trying hard enough. It's not that you've given up. Maybe you just need to stop making it worse. I'm talking to myself, by the way, obviously. Anybody want to share a joy or a quicksand? Freddie and I had lunch together today, so we already did all the quicksand. And we had a couple joys also. There were some joys in there. Yeah, Jess.
Lily and I established a routine of going to the beach every Sunday.
Wow.
It's a routine now since we went there.
Jess and Lily have a weekly routine of going to the beach on Sundays. Man, yeah, that's good. Anybody? Yeah, Dave. I have a new neighbor. Oh, yes. Michelle bought a house this week. She's adjacent to Dave. Congrats, Michelle. Helena. Yeah, right, yes. It's a joy in the middle of some quicksand. Sorry, go ahead. Wow. There are good people doing random acts of kindness in the world. Yeah, you won't hear that on the news. Welcome. Bill. Wow. Bill's working through a 6-month project on healing cultural and generational trauma. Yeah, quicksand or joy, both. Yeah. 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 I love this. I feel like and this is in no way judgmental because I think it's tremendous and cute, but I think of like, for some reason in my mind is the image of like, we're going to pray for Aunt Betty because she stubbed her toe. And Bill's like, we're healing cultural and generational trauma. We're not trying to tackle anything too big. Thank you. Yeah, Lewis, talk to us. That's awesome. Thanks, Lewis. Yeah, Dan. Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's I'm trying to remember the exact quote, but I think it's a philosopher called Kierkegaard who says the lips of the poet are so formed that in their suffering they cry out and we get beautiful music. But yeah, very often it's in our suffering we produce the best work and the best art, and it's from our suffering that we kind of generate. Yeah, how many of you guys would agree with that the quicksand and the joy are actually flip sides of the same coin? Yeah. And like depending on where you freeze the frame, it's like seasonally quicksand, joy, quicksand, joy. Oh, this integrity stuff, really tough. Well, thank you guys. I appreciate the vulnerability and kind of setting the table for what we're doing together. We've said it, we've sung it, we've connected in the room and online. Kenny, how are we going to practice this week?
So that begins with signing up for Collective's weekly email. You'll need to just subscribe to the email and check the box for the rundown. Then you can select your group preferences, but only after you've verified that you've checked the rundown. Groups include collective yoga, collective cares, art and soul, volunteers, faith, some of the things that we'll be talking about subsequently. Otherwise, you'll miss out on the news about all the groups that you've selected, and by doing this, your dashboard will be set up just how you like it for both communication and for practice. So this Wednesday, we have our next Art and Soul at the Create Space, hosted by Jenny Beth. She is asking that we bring a no longer used or broken item to recreate into something beautiful or useful. Some of her examples include like old clothes or broken CDs. So whether you have an idea or want to crowdsource from the people that attend, it's about the journey of creation. You can sign up for a ticket via the Facebook event. You can confirm your attendance there. It's live on there. She says that so many times we're afraid of not being perfect or useful when we really just need to change our perspectives. And I think that's something really valuable. So I'm looking forward to this one.
Yeah. That's powerful, doing that like subconscious work of making something with your hands and realizing that it's like rewiring your brain at the same time.
The upcycling.
Yes, yeah, upcycling emotionally.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So we talked last week about the need for volunteers, and you guys got an email on Friday. If you didn't get an email, you definitely want to do everything Kenny just said. Sign up, make sure you're connected to that. And we talked about the fact that in the coming season, as I cut back some of my time to give relief to the congregation, to kind of let the economy and everything recover, that means that I'm going to have less attention for this, and we're going to require more attention and kind of responsibility from the congregation. And we wanted to start with something we've talked about for, I guess, a decade and never managed to pull off. And Kenny and I did it in like 30 minutes on Wednesday with the help of Josh Hayes. But we have a survey. What do they call it, Fred? A poll in the field? Yep. We've got a poll in the field, all right? Yeah, early responses are trending well. I don't know what that means. I filled it out, so I think that I'm going to be committed either way. There's a poll that is going to ask you guys some basic questions about how it is that you might be helpful and how you'd like to be helpful. So let me show you a couple of these from the survey. The first one asks about Sunday commitment. I can commit to serve in person 1 Sunday a month, 2 Sundays a month, as often as you need. Here's the thing. I want to ask you guys to be ruthlessly honest with me. Set the expectations for yourself very, very low. Don't report the kind of people you want to be. Report the kind of people you're afraid you might be. Like, I could show up once a quarter, like if I made a commitment and put it in a calendar. We need to know that, because the truth is we cannot pull this off if we can't count on people. And I know this is a dirty word, but counting on people, another word for that is accountability. If we can't count on you, we can't do what we do. And what we keep saying is what we do is really, really important. There aren't many other people who are doing this work and really genuinely opening themselves and asking other people to do this work. So then we've got Sunday timing. Same thing. Can you come before the service, during the service, after the service? So for example, maybe you're a person who says, I can come 1 Sunday a month, but I'll come for the whole thing. Before, during, and after, I'm going to come and I'm going to commit to work the whole time. I'm not going to come for my enjoyment that night or my participation. I'm going to come to be of service and help pull off everything. Or maybe you don't want to work that much in a single day, but you can come every Sunday, but just help before the service, and then you can participate in the service. However you want to do it, slow down, look at your calendar, take some time and think about who you are, how you can best help, and then just give us that information so that we can start to make a plan. Sunday interactions, real basic stuff. Do you want to work alone and accomplish simple tasks? Or do you want to interact with people and make them feel welcome? Very different things. If you're not a people person, that's fine. Please don't ask us to put you at the front door. We don't need you there, right? And if all you want to do is talk to people and make them smile, don't be doing a job that's primarily like putting things in a closet or, mopping or something like that. Help us to understand how we can help you guys be of service. So let's run through the next one real quick. Sunday support. I'm not going to go through all these. You guys know what an email is. That's why you got it. So make sure that you've got the email. Please do respond. This is like a slot machine for Kenny and I. We kind of just sit around waiting for you guys to reply, and then we're like, oh my gosh, let's look at the results. So do participate in that. Do we have one more up there? Yeah. This is the best. So we got 2 open-ended slides at the end. What didn't we think of that you might contribute? I'm going to say this, and this is terrifying. Anything. I mean, that's an open box. So if you're like flutes and flag waving, or you are interested in a bagpipe ministry, or you want to bring back, what were those things? The velvet boards for Sunday school. Yeah. Yeah, the felt boards. Yeah, the felt boards. So yeah, if you've got puppetry experience or whatever, let us know. I'm not promising we're going to put it all to use, but if you think that could be helpful, that'd be nice to know about you also. And then again, really, really happy being of service. Where is that for you? Not like, what do you think that I want you to do? Like, I wonder what would be most helpful to Ben, and then he would smile and be my friend. Where are you happiest being of service, regardless of who knows about it? What's going to bring you joy? Everybody clear on that? Are there any questions? You all know how to open an email and take a survey? Fantastic. Tell your friends. That's also, Kenny, that'll be in the rundown the next 3 weeks, right? Yeah. Okay, so the link to the survey is going to be in the rundown the next 3 weeks. After that, we need to start making a plan. So if you can't get it in 3 weeks, we're going to assume you might not be able to be of service in the next season. So if you can be of service and you want to be, And I'm going to say this, not like, man, I really should. Like, really need to do that sometime. But if you really want to, like, you're ready to make a commitment, take the survey, and then we'll get you connected to a way that you can really help us and hopefully enjoy it. Next Sunday, how many of you guys are going trick-or-treating? Dave, Michelle, okay, yeah, okay, well, sure, you're gonna also. How many of you are planning on being here? Awesome, fantastic. We're gonna do like a low-key, less formal kind of conversation / hors d'oeuvre potluck. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? It's going to be just an hour. We're not trying to feed everybody all night. We assume people are going to go off to other Halloween parties afterwards. But 5 to 6, we'll be here. Bring a little snack or something you can share. We will make coffee. I'll make sure that it gets handled right. We'll have coffee. You can bring a dessert thing or like a snacky thing. But we're going to break bread together and just be together. I know that sounds crazy. But we have a few people who have agreed to be storytellers, and so we'll share some stories. We'll kind of interact around those. We'll still play a little bit of music. Are you going to be here, Fred? Yeah, so we'll play some music. Join us is going to be kind of a low-key thing, but it should be fun. It'll be pretty quick, just 5 to 6, and then we'll go. And then I'm going to go trick-or-treat with the kids, so you guys can go. Say again? Can you come in costume? I dare you. Yeah, please come in costume. Yeah, please, absolutely. In fact, we'll do a costume contest since there's going to be if there are more than 5 of us dressing up, we will be awarding prizes for costumes, so. It's terrazzo, it'll keep. All right. Freddie, tell me about the Community Problems Assembly.
Well, it's tomorrow.
That snuck up on us, didn't it?
It sure did. It stuck up on me. That is the time of year. It's really, it's a convention is what it is of the faith congregations and everyone that is involved to come together. And it's kind of the pinnacle of our, what we call our listening process. So all over the county, we've been holding meetings where folks are coming together and they're sharing about what is going on in their lives and the problems that we see and experience in the community. And at the assembly, we're coming together, we're telling some of those stories. So people are going to be sharing testimonies about what they're going through with housing and criminal justice and the environment. And then we'll be deciding some things as an organization. We'll be electing new leadership for the organization of faith, and we'll be kind of voting on where to take some of our issue campaigns. So it's important that if you're a member of faith or want to be a member of faith or want to see what it's all about, that you attend. And attending is very easy because you can do it from the comfort of your own home or anywhere where you have a device, because it'll be on Zoom at 6:30, and all you need to know to get into the Zoom, we've got it up there on the screen. You just go to faithfallujah.org/CPA, or
Community Problems Assembly.
Yes,
CPA.
Community Problems. Yeah, or you could just go to faithfallujah.org, and there's a little button that says Enter Problems Assembly. So you put your information in, your name, congregation, you can put collective, and then some other information, and then when you click the button to submit, you'll be launched into the Zoom. So you don't need a Zoom link or anything, you just need to go to the Faith website.
So, this is, I worry sometimes that we don't make a strong enough connection to what this is and why it's important. And I think sometimes, maybe in a more traditional church, you'd be like, how are you being of service? And people might say, oh, I'll go and volunteer in the soup line on Friday night, or I go and hang out with people at senior living facility. Part of what we're doing is we're being of service in a larger, more strategic way. And so when people ask, like, what do you do to be of service? What we're asking you to do is show up because you have power, and the more you all show up together, the more power you have. So when people are like, what do you do? Instead of being in a soup line, you hold public officials accountable for the sake of people that don't have a voice. If you're wondering what that is, you show up on Zoom and you give a voice to people who are marginalized, people that don't have the privileges that you have. So if you can carve it out of your day to show up online, it truly has power. And we've talked about this before. There are 2 kinds of power. There's money power and there's people power. If you've got a tremendous amount of money power, I'd love to speak with you after the service. Feel free to come down. But probably like most of us, your people power depends on other people around you showing up. So that again, we ask officials, what can we count on? and then we hold them accountable. We get commitments and then hold them accountable. So if you can do that, that would be really great. That's one of the major, major ways that we are organizing and of service as a congregation is through faith. So if you can do that, we really appreciate it. Kenny, take us out.
So remember, the point is to practice. Showing up, giving, serving, these are all ways that we can practice together, from the rundown of weekly practices to giving financially or showing up at the Zoom on Monday night. Make your plan now to do what you might not want to do later this week. And of course, if you need any help, I'm more than happy to help you after the service. Planning our practice is part of the practice. Now that we've planned, let's practice together.
We are going to sit silently together. We're going to sound the singing bowl in just a minute. And you can join us for a few minutes of just gently returning to your attention and realizing that your awareness of awareness, we have this word in English for that, attention. So come back to your own attention. Come back to an awareness of your awareness. In spiritual traditions, we might call this the true self, which is to return to God, to center, to pray, to sit in silence, to worship silently. We open our minds and our hearts to what is, that our minds will wander, and that we'll simply commit to come back to our breath without judgment, just to notice. Gently, gently to our breath. Use the drone footage as best helps to survey your inner landscape. May this silence allow us to contemplate what we want this ceremony to accomplish for us. Humility, spiritual rebirth, strength for what lies ahead. Breathe. It's all right. Let's sit silently together for about 3 minutes. Feel free to bring your attention back to the room as we come out of time of silence and open our eyes. Allow the light to return. Be gentle with yourself. Our reading tonight, Larry's going to read for us, is the version of a parable from the book How Not to Be Afraid. So, thanks, Larry, for being willing.
Certainly. The prison of fear. A man was condemned to spend a night in a dark cell with a poisonous snake. All night he cowered in the corner, trying not to breathe for fear that he would rouse his slinky executioner. The terror was such that he thought the fear itself might kill him. There'd be no need for the serpent to bite. When dawn began to break through the cell window, he did not allow himself to hope that he would soon be released and free from danger in case he let out a sound that would seal his fate at the last minute. Perhaps his moment of greatest fear was when he heard the guard's footsteps in the corridor on his way to open the door and let him go. Silently praying that the jangle of the guard's keys would not waken the snake. He observed sunlight creeping across the floor, redoubling his fear. Wouldn't the snake be woken by the brightness? But the light had a different effect, for just as the guard unlocked the door, the condemned man saw that the monstrous snake in the cell was not in fact a snake at all. It was a piece of old rope coiled in the corner, an object for the purpose of teaching spiritual growth to people in his town.
Oh, fantastic. And the voice just made it 1,000 times better. Thanks, Larry, so much for that. We've got it on video forever. You can go back and check it out. So much of the time, our fears may be entirely without foundation. And even those fears that are based in reality, we have to acknowledge he was told a story about a snake and there was something coiled in the corner. So there was some basis here. But most human experience teaches us that going through something we're terrified of is really less terrible than the fear itself. And we talked about this last week, that the amygdala, these two sort of almond-sized bits in the very back of your brain that are connected to kind of the survival lizard instincts, the amygdala is a really, really good alarm and a very bad storyteller. It only has one story, and that story is always emergency. So we're going to tell each other stories here for a few minutes, and we won't break into groups just for the sake of time, but if you want to shout it out, a time that your well-meaning amygdala tried to protect you, but overdid it. And so this is sort of what's going on in the story, right? This man is crippled by fear based on the story that's been told about what might be in the cell with him. So maybe a time where your amygdala was overactive and from a good place. It was trying to protect you, but maybe it overdid it. And I'll share this as a funny example, but I recently saw the movie Queen Pins. So if you guys haven't seen this, it's a great movie about a coupon racket, and just really hilarious. But there's a point in the movie where the two main characters are trying to go and recruit these two other people to get in on their coupon racket, and they're sort of following them in Mexico in this beat-up old Volkswagen. And they're trying to go to like help them and give them money and pull them in on this project. But these people, all they know is that they're being followed by this rusty, beat up old Volkswagen. So they're terrified. The amygdala is trying to help us, but sometimes it goes too far. Any thoughts? Anybody have a story, or does that resonate with anyone in terms of their experience? We shared last week the video of the guy punching the guy who like scared him in the trash can. Yeah. Anybody? Thought? Story? Yeah, sure, Jess.
This lady right here is always jumping out at me at night.
So Lily likes to hide and scare Jess at night in the house. Okay.
And I'm very jumpy.
Yeah, so be careful. She may try to defend herself and things go bad for you. So social scientists talk about, we said last week, a thing called an availability bias, which is basically that we think about our future based on what's available from our past, that we tend to predict things that are going to happen based on how easily we remember that happening in the past. And we buy this, partly because we don't totally understand and we need to learn to tell better stories about fear, but partly because we said it's a very natural response to genuine trauma, to want to hide in a corner, and that's okay. We're not trying to unprogram that in this series or say that that's bad. We're trying to acknowledge that fear is helpful, that fear has a purpose, that it comes from somewhere, and that we can live with fear better if we tell different stories about it. So on one level, we could tell this story with the snake in the corner, and this is kind of like a Pints and Parables version of this parable. We could tell it like there's a point to the story. Right? One right way to read the story. And the point is that maybe fear is worse than reality, right? Let's say that's the point of the stories. We could say that's what the parable's about. Because, sure, a heart attack over rope is not a snake. And so the fear is greater than reality. And that fear, this is sort of the main thing I think for me in the story, the fear was not due to a snake, but due to the much deadlier thing, which is the story. And the more salient practice in the story than just don't be afraid, right? That's almost like people being like, oh, you should enjoy your birthday. Like, don't be afraid because fear is worse than snakes. Thanks, that doesn't do anything, right? That's not helpful. But maybe what we do is we reflect on the fact that even after, like when the sun rises and the snake becomes a rope, the story still isn't over, right? We hear these parables as if there's like the punchline, right? The turning point, and then the story's over. The story's still not over. We're all living stories in progress. Our identities are always formed and being reformed through the way that we construct and revise stories. The version we tell ourselves, the version that we tell others, the version that we are afraid is true, the version that we hope for. We're always telling these stories, different versions of these stories. And we don't know when the story is over. And if we don't know when the story is over, especially if we're in the story, that sets us free from this sort of apocalyptic sense that we assert that our fears hold the final card, that the thing that we fear is ultimately what's going to happen. And part of the joy of reminding ourselves that the story isn't over is that there's room for surprise. And I don't think we tend to think of that. Like, how do we battle fear? We practice surprise. We practice holding things open so that we can be genuinely surprised when things work out, rather than us working them, which is, again, I'm talking to myself. So it's a good idea to hold these stories of fear loosely. We turn them upside down. We look at them from different angles. Because some of them, we said, even the stories that we're telling that are useful, and some of our fear stories are useful. They keep us safe. They've kept us safe for a long time. But stories can always use a tune-up. On the other hand, if we've been telling stories for a long time, especially ones that are not helpful, or maybe even harmful, they can benefit from like a full overhaul. And in this community, we've called that deconstruction. We've been doing that for about a decade, taking these old stories that come from our tradition, but that have been used to do a ton of harm. And we've tried to reinterpret them and re-understand them and deconstruct them and kind of unfold the origami of the page and ask simple questions, but revealing questions, like who benefits from these stories? Who told you that story? What was in it for them? Who does that story serve? Maybe you haven't asked this in a long time. You're telling these stories without thinking about it. Does that story even serve you? Or is it meant to keep you small? Is it meant to keep you afraid? Is it meant to keep you where someone else wants you? And the scary thing is, if you're asking, you may already know. So what fear stories, especially related, we talked a couple weeks ago with Jim about these religious fear stories. What fear stories, especially related to religion or spirituality, have you guys totally deconstructed or overhauled? What are some of the like typical traditional fear stories that we get from religion? Yeah, hell. Yeah. What else? Guilt. Okay, yeah, guilt. That's connected to like the transactional God, karmic debt, magic harmony, all that kind of stuff. You've got to keep the forces outside yourself happy. What else? What other fear stories do we get from religion? The what of redemption? The magic of redemption, yeah. So the sense that there's a... Oh, okay, yeah, so like cheap grace. Like, yeah, anything, you can get away with anything because there's forgiveness. Okay, awesome, yeah. Yeah, Bill. Yeah. Yeah, so the karmic debt, I mean, basically, if you haven't watched The Good Place, that's the best version of it that I've ever seen. Yeah, Dave. Oh, yeah, that's a great fear story in the church. Sexuality is bad, yeah. Right, yeah, but like your body is bad. What about this anti-intellectualism? Education is bad. Yeah, there's some fear stories that are rampant. We've got stories about punishment, stories about judgment, stories about belief-based belonging that make us afraid about being alone. What about money, tithing, the prosperity gospel, fear that if we don't give enough? So we were talking at Work of the People on Wednesday night. If you don't know about Work of the People, we do this every 2 weeks where we kind of crowdsource for upcoming sermons. You should join us. It's a blast, especially if you're a lady. We're a very gentleman-heavy group right now. We could use some female perspectives. We were reflecting on the fact that in our lifetime, what we have is apparently this past week, suicide bombers killing other suicide bombers using suicide bombs. What? And yet, not so dissimilar from Protestants and Catholics. Not so dissimilar from Hutus and Tutsis. Not so dissimilar from fascists and others. Not so dissimilar from Republicans and Democrats. What other fear stories, not religious or spiritual, but what other fear stories maybe from your family or in your particular career or about certain kinds of people or about money? What other fear stories have you been carrying around and telling yourself without really reflecting on them for a long time? Mary? Oh, yeah, go to college or, yeah, you're kind of done. You're unemployable. Yeah, and now the fear story is like try to pay off college debt. Good luck. Dan? Oh, yeah, life. Yeah, life works. I can't remember what this is from algebra. Isn't it the slope, rise over run? Like you put in this output and then you get that result. And then you put in that output and then and life just goes up and to the right. Yeah. Inputs, outputs, you do the right thing. Yeah, absolutely. So you've been given this narrative about black people being dangerous. Yeah, and rightly, again, this is sort of that thing about like, we can't keep on these very simplistic, myopic goggles about good and bad. Bill was 12 and had received a story about the violence that he was in danger of from black people, and his amygdala was trying to protect him and his parents based on a story he'd been told. How do you untangle that? Where's the bad? Where's the, right? These are just stories that have shaped us. And what we're asking you to do is not to go through your catalog and analyze them good, bad, but to acknowledge the ones that are helping and the ones that are hurting and to start to tell different stories. We shared, some people said like fear of flying. How many of you guys have that? The fear of like, a lot of people have real deep fear of being in front of people. Say again? Roller coasters? Okay, yeah. So we don't want to assume that we know, and this is like about, the snake, but also all these stories we tell ourselves. We don't even know what our most cherished stories mean. We sort of carry them around and tell them, and the truth is we don't know what other people really think of us. The true impact of our actions and our intentions. We don't know what's around the next corner. We don't know if we have 50 years or another 15 minutes to live. And this is what we've been saying since the beginning of Collective, letting ourselves rest in unknowing is a tremendous relief from this exhausting and futile attempt to rule the world, right? That massive difference between letting it happen and trying to make it happen. And I know I've gotten this language just in the past, probably year and a half or so, I think from Rob Bell, but I'm not sure. He talks about sort of centers of gravity in our life. And part of this is beginning to recognize that we can tell stories in which we are not the protagonist. I'm going to let that blow your mind for a minute because your ego's never heard of such a thing. We can tell a story in which we're not the protagonist. And if I'm not the protagonist, my ego is no longer holding the burden of being the center of gravity of all stories. That's a lot. That's too much. But then again, this is where the value of spiritual community and spiritual practice and these questions come into play. If I'm not going to be the center of gravity in the stories that are being told in my life and around me, who or what is? And if there is a better story to be told with a better center of gravity, how do we find that story? We're going to, over and over this fall. We're going to do that. This week as we begin to practice, I want us to think about what it means for us to sit in the dark with the coil of we know not what. What does it mean to sit in the dark with the coil of we know not what? We know what some others have told us. We know what some other people have told us to be afraid of. And I want to ask this question. What if we begin with this practice? We can't control other people. All we can control is ourselves. What if we just start by imagining better stories than snakes? Or what if we just open ourselves to the possibility that there's even another story other than the fear-inducing one that we've been given? Maybe we've only been given that story and we've never even thought of an alternative. Maybe just open yourself to the alternative. Maybe there's a different story than the fear story you've been told. So what does it look like for you this week to tell yourself better stories when you're in the dark? What does that practice look like? And then as you do that, I want to ask you to pay attention to what that does of your experience of fear. And I don't mean what you think about fear or what you read in a book about fear. I want to know what it does to your blood pressure. I want to know if it does things to your skin. I want to know if it helps your breathing to slow down. What does it do to your experience of fear? And if you're brave, you can sort of face that courageously, I think, by sitting in the dark and waiting for a better story. And I don't necessarily mean literally. If you can get, if you have blackout curtains and you can get it all the way, go for it. But what does it mean to sit in the dark and wait for a better story? Because I think that's one of the practices, is that you sit. Because that's part of letting it happen. It's uncomfortable because that's all it is. You just sit. But maybe if you're so bold, and this is the best part. I don't need your theology. If you're really bold, maybe rather than sitting in the dark and just waiting for a better story, maybe you'd be willing to try asking for one. Whether that's God or your higher power or your trusted community or your intuition or your inner voice or your true self, whatever language you give that, maybe you try asking. Give me a better story. Show me a better story than this fear. Pretty simple. Give me a better story. Sit in the dark. Give me a better story. Show me a better story than this fear. And even if God fails to give you what you ask for, which is just the fruitful soil of spirituality that's working, I want to remind you of that's a real good place to be. If you're praying and God is not giving you what you ask for, you're right where you should be. There's not anything wrong with you. God is not far from you. That's spirituality. I'm getting a call. It's the Lord. Turns out I was wrong about all that stuff. Yes. So even if God fails to give you a better story, as is often the case in a spirituality that's vital, you sit in the silence, you sit in the dark, you ask for a better story, and nothing comes. Just more solitude and darkness. There's still a better story than that fear, which is simply that story isn't over, that your story isn't over. You don't know the end of the story. You don't know the end of the story. In a minute, we're going to come to this table and receive the Eucharist, this gift, a symbol for us and our tradition of the humanity of God, the materiality of our faith, a reminder that we ourselves are the body of Christ. We as Christ's body to be given, and we as Christ's blood to be shed. The table of this unconditional belonging and transformative love is set for us tonight. This table that makes us alive, not in curing us of our fear, but in moving through fear. This table is set for us and for all people, and no one will ever be turned away. When you're ready, feel free to come and receive this. Let's share with one another this meal in these words, bread for the journey and nourishment for the soul. Come when you're ready.
You ask me what I want this year. I'll try to make this kind and clear. Just a chance that maybe we'll find better days. 'Cause I don't need boxes wrapped in strings or design of love and empty things. Just a chance that maybe we'll find better days. So take these words and sing out loud, 'cause everyone is forgiven now. 'Cause tonight's the night the world begins again. I need someplace simple where we could live, with something only you can give. And that's faith and trust and peace while we're alive. And one poor child who saved this world, well, there's 10 million more who probably could, if we all just stopped and said a prayer for them. So take these words and sing out loud, because everyone is forgiven now. 'Cause tonight's the night the world begins again. I wish everyone was loved tonight, and some might stop this endless fight. Just a chance that maybe we'll find better days. So take these words and sing out loud, 'cause everyone is forgiven now. 'Cause tonight's the night the world begins again.
That Eucharist line was robust. Give yourselves a hand. That was really nice. Man, that's the first time in a minute that I can remember that we had people coming through line the whole closing song. Better days, friends, better days. All right, Kenny, take us out.
Thank you so much for joining us in person and online. And thank you again for making financial support a part of your practice by visiting collectivegives.com. Make your plan to stay connected at wearecollectivechurch.com. Update your preferences to customize your engagement. In lieu of our regularly scheduled benediction this evening, we'll be wishing Ben a happy birthday.
Me.
Hello.
Happy birthday, Ben.
Happy birthday, Ben. We miss you.
Happy birthday, Ben, from Out on the Road. Hope you're having the best day.
To the world's greatest pastor, bandmate, landlord, and friend, happy birthday. We love you, buddy.
Happy birthday, Ben.
So have a happy, 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 happy mother birthday.
On this echoing day of your birth, may you open the gift of solitude.
So many are alive who don't seem to care. Casual, easy, they move in the world as though untouched, but you take pleasure in the faces of those who know they thirst.
Hey, Ben. Happy birthday. We're at one of your favorite places, the ocean. We're going to grab some coffee and hit some waves.
Happy 40th birthday, Ben. Happy birthday to a flannel shirt wearing, superhero loving, coffee drinking, pastor, dad, and friend.
Hope you have a great day and a great start to your new year. Thanks for everything that you do.
Thank you for everything you do for us. I'm really proud to call you my friend.
Ben, you are one of the most kind, intelligent, good-hearted people I know who can take everyday ideas and life and find God in the midst of it.
And it's such a pleasure working with you on the Housing Committee.
Thanks for everything that you do for the community and just your energy and enthusiasm that you bring. Just really appreciate the friendship.
And when I think about what you've done for me I think about when I first moved to DeLand 5.5 years ago and how I found a home at Collective and felt like I had family even when I didn't really know anybody else here.
Because you truly are a gift of God to this community. Thank you so much for everything that you do.
You've been one of my closest friends the past few years. Ever since I started coming to Collective, I've always appreciated your advice and your insight.
Can't tell you how much I've enjoyed and appreciated these conversations. You're a great listener. And I have always valued your perspective.
I really appreciate you being there as a friend and a mentor to me over the last 10-ish years almost. So I really appreciate you being in my life and creating a community where we can all be in each other's lives.
We want to say how much we are thankful for you and how much we appreciate everything that you've always done for us.
I'm so grateful for your friendship and for your leadership at Collective.
Thank you so much for always welcoming us to Collective, and maybe even more importantly, for welcoming us back to Collective. May you always feel welcome in your own community.
Thank you for everything that you do for this community. Thank you for your leadership and help making Collective Church what it is, an organization that I am super grateful and proud to be a part of.
We're grateful for you, Ben, not just for what you do, but for who you are. Happy birthday.
And Thor, speak.
Go ahead, speak.
Hey, thanks for being a solid, decent, flawed, willing human. I appreciate you being an example of someone to point to who is really trying.
Thank you for bringing Collective and bringing it into my life. I appreciate everything you do.
We just think the world of you. So thank you for all your pastoral guidance. Thank you for your friendship.
I hope this is the greatest year yet for you, and I wish you all the blessings that life has to offer.
I hope that the next 40 years are as eventful and fruitful and passion-filled as the last 40.
I hope you have a fantastic day and that the year ahead is wonderful.
Keep up all the good work you do and enjoy your 40s.
Namaste and peace, my friend.
Hope you have a good one.
Grateful to have you as a companion on my journey. Happy birthday.
Happy 40th birthday, Ben.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Ben.
Happy birthday, Ben.
Grace and peace.
Grace and peace.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Couldn't be prouder of you, buddy. Happy birthday.
Happy 40th birthday.
Happy birthday.
Yeah. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Ben.
I hope you have many, 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 many more.
Happy birthday.
I already gave a speech, so thank you. That's amazing, really. Thanks. I appreciate it. Thank you guys for, we say it a lot, but you guys really have made me who I am, for good and ill, right? Flawed and imperfect. Love you all. Let's celebrate. That's when the music kicks in. It's like, because now it's just an awkward transition. Grace and peace. Thank you guys for coming. Welcome to my 40s.